Welcome to Rooted in Wellness. It's Andrea, Christina, and Mimi. Today we're going to talk about New Year and new goals. So, with that being said, New Year's resolutions. So, the hardest part is to remember to not have the all or nothing mentality. I feel like a lot of people get stuck with they made these things and now they went off after 1 week and then they're like, screw it. I'm done with it. You're not always going to feel motivated, so it's important to stay disciplined and to keep that momentum going. So then eventually you have a habit and you won't even realize that you're, taking or carving the time out to do what you want to do.
Yeah, not like that all or nothing thinking.
Right.
Because the minute you kind of are like, I gotta go do an hour workout, the minute you set yourself up to be like, no, I'm not going. But the minute you're like, I'm just gonna go walk a little bit, more often than not, you do more than you plan to.
Yeah. Once you get moving, then you'll feel good that you're there.
Yeah.
It's just getting started is the hardest part.
And showing up.
Yeah.
And it's really important too to always think about adding things in instead of taking them out. A lot of people, I think you were talking about cutting out, a lot of people are like, oh, it's the new year, I want to cut out sugar, which is great. Or, I want to stop cussing or doing these things. But if we kind of flip it and look at it like, I want to start walking 3 days a week. Definitely still do the things you don't want to do, but add in the things you do want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I like spending a positive mindset instead of like, well, and I think too, it goes with that all or nothing. Like cutting out sugar is very all or nothing. Like it's great. It's something we should, try to do. But is it going to be perfect 100% all the time? No.
No. So everything kind of breaks down to sugar. So you're really setting yourself up.
Yeah.
Right.
And, with New Year's resolution goals, you want them to be realistic and maintainable. So you aren't setting yourself up for complete failure.
Right.
Yeah. So when we think about goals, there's like your short-term goals versus your long-term goals. So short-term we call process goals, and long-term is our outcome goals. So like, do you guys have what's a long-term goal that you've either have for 2026 or that you've done in the past?
So like one that recently I did this year was I had been working towards getting my LPC. So that's my license to counsel, and I had to have a lot of short-term goals in order to achieve that long-term goal. So it took almost 2 years, and I'm thinking of like the day-to-day things I had to do was like keep a time log. I had to have supervision twice a week. I had to fit some things in my daily schedule, rearrange some things in order to make that happen. And one thing that I found really beneficial in that was like my appointment calendar. So I used to have one that just kind of tracked weekly, but this actually breaks down my days into every 15 minutes. And so that really helped me keep track of my direct hours versus indirect hours. And like, just, I found that it worked for me best.
Yeah.
But I could really see my short-term goals and then how I achieved my long-term goal in that.
Yeah. So and I know you were really busy when you were getting in those 2 years. So your short-term goals added up and helped you. That was the process to get you 2 years later to that LPC.
Right.
Yeah. So I think like when you're setting those goals, you have to think like, is it realistic? Could you fit in all those short-term goals after work and all that stuff? So I think when you're thinking of your long-term goal, it's really important to think about all the short-term goals that you need.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the one that I'm going to think of right now is just when you wanted to run the half marathon for your birthday in April. It was pretty hilly.
Yeah. I will say that
we were not expecting that.
No, and I don't think I did a good job hitting my short-term goals for that one.
And that's something where it would really show, because it's not, you're not just running a quick race. Like,
No.
You're out there for a quick second.
So like, yeah, I did not like. We started off training really well.
We did, yeah.
And then kind of, I don't know what happened. I just don't think I devoted enough days to just running.
Well, and one thing with that was we had to train a lot in the winter.
Right.
And so like when we think about, oh, we're doing a half marathon, like oftentimes we didn't maybe think about the short-term goal being we might have to run 7 miles on a treadmill, right? Like we might have to train indoors or really in the cold. And so extreme weather, are we able to do that? Does our health allow it? Like
Yeah.
all of those things.
And you had school and basketball, so
Right.
you were kind of really limited.
Right. But that's a good example of like think of the short term
Yeah.
Right.
that you have to do. One for this year I have is just a more positive mindset. So that's kind of long term. I don't have a deadline. I hope it just continues
Stays
forever.
Yeah.
But a short term goal that I'm going to do daily is just at the end of the day write down something that I'm grateful for, whether it's in a journal or just jot it down in my notes in my phone. Something that was positive from the day, just to kind of end on a good note.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
One thing that's helped me just kind of track more gratitude is it's an app. It's called Gratitude Circle, and it's free, and it takes like 2 minutes to at any point in the day just track something that you noticed was really positive or something that you were grateful for. So that's something that that's helped me. So,
and is that something that you can share with people?
Yeah. So you can like share it with your friends. So if I was super grateful for time with you girls, I might reflect on that later, and then I could share it with you if you also had that app.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That is cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of like really interesting now that we've talked a lot about New Year's resolutions and short-term versus long-term goals. Something that we have to do every year in the school system is pick a SMART goal. So it's something very specific to what we want to see be accomplished within our role during the school year. So I'm going to break it down for everyone. The S in the SMART goal stands for specific. So you want to make sure that it's very detailed. You're kind of mapping out exactly what you want to do, how you want to accomplish it. So for one example is I want to run a 5K by March of 2026 in under 30 minutes. Okay, so that is very specific,
right? You
time oriented. Yeah,
you put every spot on that.
And so something measurable, like how am I going to measure it? Well, I'm going to use my Garmin because this thing tracks every mile. I can go back. I can look like, oh, Tuesday I ran 3. That means my long run needs to be Saturday. I'll run 7 then.
Does it track like terrain? Like if you're doing, because if you're doing a time frame, like if you're going uphill for 3 miles versus the rail trail, I don't know if the Garmin does that.
Yes, and the elevation, which is always something to keep in mind, especially since we were like training for that Charlottesville. If we would have known the elevation, we might have incorporated that more. But you even have that one app, right?
Yeah, so I've used Strava in the past, which is cool because you can have friends on there and see their runs.
Okay.
And then I've also used Nike Run in the past, which is nice because you can set your goal. So that would be good for this because if you say 5K, then it gives you runs to do each week and it builds you up to that 5K, and it gives you long runs or tempo runs. So I've really liked that.
And then you don't have to put a ton of brain work into it because it kind of does it for you.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Well, and I love that too because that kind of leads us to our next letter in the SMART goal. It's like achievable. So it has to be maybe what is already in alignment with my realistic for my current fitness level. So, it sounds like Nike Run Club already maps it out for you based upon your maybe my 5K goal and what my current fitness level is. So we want to make sure that it's achievable for us. And then relevant, right? Like it aligned with my broader goal of running a specific race. So, a 3K is a little bit different than, a half marathon like we ran, but I do think that it's got to be something that's relevant to what I want to see happen. What it aligned with my goal and time bound. So we want to make a deadline. In my case, it would be March of 2026, but, it could be maybe I want to run a 5K by September, or, maybe I just want to build stamina, right? My endurance. So you can kind of fit any SMART goal based upon what you find value in, especially going into the new year. And it kind of goes along with, I know I always tell you girls about TDD. So if like one of you were to say, we need to get a coffee soon, or we need to hang out soon, then I might say, give me TDD, time, date, details. Like I need to know when, otherwise it won't happen. And so I like the SMART goal because it's very specific and very reasonable.
Yeah, definitely keeps you accountable and, like you said, specific. And just keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm like sitting here wondering, like how many goals, like because SMART goal, it's it's not long, but you
Mhm.
have to put a lot of thought into it. It can
Right.
take a lot of time.
Mhm.
So it's like, how many goals should you have going at once, especially in the new year?
Mhm.
What is realistic?
So like maybe a professional goal, the SMART goal,
Mhm.
and
Good mental health goal.
yeah,
Yeah.
mental health goal.
So
Because you
I
don't have too many tabs open.
right. So I think, yeah, because that SMART goal can be
Mhm.
like, we can do that for every goal that you just mentioned.
Right.
Mhm.
Because, every goal should have the time and the
Mhm.
specific part. So, yeah, I think 3 would be good because that's kind of like professional development,
Mhm.
bettering yourself,
Mhm.
and then an active goal. And then what was the last one? Oh, mental health. Yeah.
Mhm. Like something that you might find, like yours was gratitude, right?
Yeah.
Like that's something you want to become more positive, and that's a short-term goal that will get you there this year.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of people might want that outlook, or maybe they just want to feel better, right?
Right.
And so tracking those patterns, which I think I really like to share different apps that will help with that in the new year, but I'll save that for a little bit later.
Yeah. Well, and this kind of leads into it
Yeah.
because some of the apps are going to help us with this next part.
Mm-hmm.
How to hold yourself accountable. So, like self monitoring, like Andrea said earlier, it's really hard or it's really easy to fall off the wagon sometimes if you have that all or nothing mentality. So, how are you going to stay disciplined on a day to day basis? I notice myself like I love the new year because I just feel like the holidays are crazy. You're eating a whole bunch. You're not moving as much as usual. So I like that reset. So that first week, I'm great.
Right.
And then the second week of January hits, and I'm like, this kind of stinks. So things that have helped me, friends,
Yeah.
could be a group chat.
The calendar.
Yeah. The calendar, the accountability calendar.
Yeah, our accountability calendar.
I know. Well, first, because I know your friends.
Yes. So if it wasn't for Corinne, I don't know how I would maintain my 3 days a week at 6:15 a.m. So me and my friend Corinne, we lift 3 days a week at Pro Performance. We made it realistic for us because it's close to both of our jobs, but we also recognize that we can show up because we have each other. Like Corinne drives 30 minutes from Fairmont, and I live in Morgantown, and there have been days where I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to go back to bed, but knowing that Corinne is going to be there, counting on me.
She's already on her way.
She's already on her way. Like I gotta go. Like what am I doing? Like. And once I'm there, I always feel better. And I've noticed such a big difference in my mood at work when I go in the morning and my motivation for things. And it really makes a big difference. But girls, I can't tell you that I'd go if it was just me getting up.
No.
So that definitely helps.
Yeah. And then you mentioned the calendar.
Yeah. I think we were talking about this, but like visually seeing which week was a little harder and then trying to just finish it out strong so you're not so like bummed, you know?
Because I have a few too many check minuses that I'd like this month. But then I'm motivated to finish it out strong, like you said.
And that's huge though, because some people would be like, I had 7 or 8 check minuses, so I'm just gonna call it a wash.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yours is a motivating thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna turn this around.
Yeah.
Yes. Hopefully. No, just kidding. I will. And then the last thing is just once you have your routine and you do it for long enough, then you'll realize how good you feel. And then you'll realize how you feel when you don't hit that routine. So, like an example, I've been struggling this month just with how busy I've been, and I've been doing at-home workouts, which for me, I just don't have a lot of the equipment that I need. I have some dumbbells, that's about it. So my workouts haven't been as
what you wanted.
Yeah. It hasn't pushed me enough, which that is something that affects my mental health. So, like, I made it a goal over this break when I'm not working to get to the gym again since I have more time. And that's the first thing I did this morning. And I was so productive throughout the day. Yeah, for the rest of the day. Because I have found myself, like, on the weekends and stuff in December, I'll just have a really slow morning and then I'll dread my workout and push it back and maybe sometimes not even do it.
Yeah. And then it's kind of taking up space in your brain all day too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not a good day for me.
Yeah.
So just deciding to what your routine is and when you feel most motivated.
What works for you?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think kind of going off of that, and Andrea had mentioned like the accountability calendar. And that's great because it's something like I like to call it a refrigerator sheet, something I can throw up on the fridge. And when I get home, I see it. It's a reminder, it's a distraction. But another thing that I like is incorporating apps, like I mentioned earlier, specific apps for self monitoring. So, like, there's a couple that come to mind. I know one specific to New Year's because a lot of people are either trying to lose weight or maybe track their food intake, different goals, different things. Is MyFitnessPal. That's a way to monitor kind of like what nutrients you're getting, maybe how many calories you consume a day. Just kind of brings awareness to those things. So that is a free app. Another free app, it's called MoodFit. Noticing patterns between your mood, habits, and daily life without trying to fix you. It's more of just bringing awareness to these things. And another one that I really love and that I personally use a lot is called the How We Feel app. And it has very specific things that you track. So, for instance, there's a quadrant. There's 4 quadrants. There's one high energy, pleasant, high energy, unpleasant, low energy, pleasant, and low energy, unpleasant. And there's a bunch of like floating feelings, and they're kind of color coded based on how you might feel in your body.
I
like,
think you were telling me about this.
Yes.
And then it like sends to your friends. So like
Yes.
if you're feeling low energy,
Yes.
then it'll like be like Mimi is feeling.
Yes. So
Better
there
check
have
on
been,
her.
yes,
Yeah,
there have
check
been times
in.
where I'm like, low energy. I think it was like maybe meh. I felt meh one day, and then I typed in a tiny journal entry, and it will have the option to like share with friends. So like, if I really wanted my friends to know I was feeling meh, I could send it to them, and they'd get notified. And then like, in addition to maybe notifying my friends or them notifying me, I could also track like a snapshot of my month. So say November on a Thursday, I was low energy, unpleasant. I might have typed in a random journal entry. Here, sitting at the end of December, I could go back to that date and time and see, I wonder why that week was a bunch of mess. What was I typing in my journal entry? Or, why was that week so good? Like, what was I doing differently that week that made me have all these green, like, feeling grateful,
Right.
So, just kind of brings awareness to, how your daily habits are making you feel, which I think this podcast is all about. And I do think, we all are on our phones quite often. So it's another way to kind of have that information easily accessible to us, without having to maybe get out our notebook or get out a journal, which is great. It's just different ways that we access information. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, that's all we kind of wanted to talk about today. But if our listeners wanted to view any more information or get more resources from us throughout this next month until our next podcast, please follow us on at Rooted in Wellness. The E and wellness is a 3. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.